everybody, and welcome to Full Court MACtion, a half hour of the coaches and players who make Mid-American Conference basketball so exciting. Basketball teams spend so much time together during the season, they actually become extended families. This year in the Mid-American Conference, the family dynamic is even stronger. 4 of the 12 schools in the MAC have a head coach whose son or daughter is playing on their team. It's led for special times for both players and coaches this year.
Coker dishes off, and that three goes. Lexi Carlson, the coach's daughter, with her first bucket as a Husky.
It's all you know growing up. You know, concession stand food for dinner, late nights, bus trips, missing school. It's a way of life that's super special, especially for coaches' kids. It's the only way you know how.
You know, you never know what to expect. I hadn't coached her before. I didn't anticipate that it would be difficult. And I think she's done a great job of really kind of keeping me in check, right? When she needs me to be mom, she's very explicit about, I need you to listen as my mom and not as my coach. I've really enjoyed it every single day. You know, there's never a day that goes by that, not that there's not difficult moments from a team standpoint, but there's definitely not difficult moments as far as coaching her.
What's up, Bobcats? I'm Chase Bowles. I'm a freshman from Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, it's really cool. About midway through his senior year, he came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I want to walk on." I'm like, "Are you sure?" And prior to that, you know, I called Coach Izzo, Coach Hurley, Coach Moser, and they all had their sons as walk-ons on their team, and all 3 said 100% no-brainer, be the best thing you ever do. The times that you miss of their activities and holidays and birthdays, you know, you're going to be around them on an everyday basis, and you'll have a different relationship with them, and it's been really cool.
I remember when we first had, Allison and I first had Connor, he was our firstborn. You know, I remember Thad Mata, who I was working for at the time, said to me, "You think you know what love is until you actually have a child. And then once your child is born, then, you know, that's another level of love." And it's true. I lost my father in May. I remind myself, you know, I wish I had another day with my father. Sometimes I'll listen to a voicemail that he left me, you know, just to hear his voice. But to get the opportunity to coach your son, regardless of how long it is special. And so I've tried to embrace every minute. I've enjoyed having him around. It's been a real thrill for me.
Well, it means a lot to be around your son every day. And, you know, it's a lot of times, and probably for the majority of parents in general, not just coaches, your son or daughter are going off to a different college somewhere, and you become the empty nesters, you and the wife, and you know, they end up going off, and even though they might be on somebody else's team or just a normal college student, they're away from you. So to still, even though he's out of the house and he's a normal college student and he's living in the dorms and all those different things, he's still in the same town, and I get to see him every single day. It's neat, especially knowing, yeah, he loves basketball, but he also wants to follow in his dad's footsteps one day.
2-point game, fresh into the game, Drew Barbie.
I just seen all the players he coached, and I wanted to be like him. I wanted to coach, and I like coaching, and I'm just a verbal guy. So, and he yells and talks and communicates and coaches people, and I like that.
I think about the person I look up to the most. You know, she's my hero in a lot of ways. She's the reason now why I want to coach when I'm done playing. She's the reason I do everything I do as hard as I do every single day.
There are currently 23 men's teams that have a player on their father's teams and 8 women's programs that have a parent coaching their daughter. Time for us to take a quick timeout. When we return, we go one-on-one with Ball State women's head coach Brady Salee. Full Court MACtion will be right back. Stay with us. We continue to push the tempo on Full Court MACtion. Just 2 games remain in the regular season. Plenty of movement can still be made in the women's standings as we take a look at the road to Cleveland. Ball State has earned at least a share of the regular season championship. Toledo and Buffalo are tied at 12-4. Kent State is 11-5. Miami is 10-6. Bowling Green is also guaranteed a seat in the tournament at 9-7. Let's welcome Brady Salee, head coach of those Ball State Cardinals, to the show. Coach, we just saw clinched a share of the regular season title in the Mid-American Conference. First time in 22 years for the Cardinals. As the head coach, what stands out about this group and what they've done so far?
Yeah, clearly we've got some really talented depth. I think back in the summer when we put this group together and we kind of decided what we wanted them to look like, I think my assistants, led by Audrey Spencer, kind of hit the nail on the head with the transfer portal. And it just added to this core four that we were returning. We wanted to take advantage of Allie Becky and Alex Richard, Marie Kiefer, and Maddie Bischoff's last year, and we wanted to put the pieces around them, and I think we certainly have. And so our depth allows us to do it in a lot of different ways. As good as Allie is, we're not just a one-trick pony. Alex Richard has had, I think, an all-conference level year. We just can put a lot of players out there that are hard to guard and create matchup issues. And they've made me look awfully good this year.
So you touched on it. 5 players averaging in double figures. You got Elise Stuck back a few games ago. What does it mean to get her back and going, back on the court and going?
Well, the crazy part about this year, Dave, like we've played 4 games all year with our entire roster available. It's crazy. And it speaks to our depth because we've been able to keep winning. But now having her back, it kind of gets us back to whole, which is something that we've been hoping for. And we feel like if we can get her as close to 100% going into Cleveland as we can be, it gives us an incredible opportunity to go cut down the nets. And so, but Elise just in and of herself, she's a matchup nightmare. She can play the 3, she can play the 4. She can shoot it, and she's a absolute bear in the paint. It's just her motor is different than maybe anybody I've ever coached, and she certainly makes us different. And I think in those 2 games this week where she returned for us, the minutes were a little bit less and than we want them to be, but she's getting there. But she just gives other teams fits with her ability to get catches around the rim and finish at a high level.
Well, on the subject of giving other teams fits, let's talk a little bit about Allie Becky. You look at any Mid-American Conference metric, she's top 10 in scoring. She's near top 10 or in top 10 in rebounds, shooting percentage from 3, and she leads the conference in assists. How have you seen her grow, and how much are you going to miss her when she finally graduates?
Yeah, let's not bring that up. I break into tears or sweats. I don't know which one, but Allie is the perfect example of what a lead guard has to be. Back in the day, probably Dave, when you and I were playing, you had the pass first point guards, and you had the facilitators, and well now. The game has evolved so much that if you can't score it and you can't defend it and you can't make others better, you can't be an elite player at that position. And she certainly can do all of those things. I think the evolution in her game has really been on the defensive end, to be honest with you. She came in early as a freshman and she could score it, although she thought pass first. And but really when she decided to start playing on both ends is when I think her game took off. And when she went from being a really good player to being one of the elite players in our league, and now has her in the conversation for Player of the Year. But the thing this year is she's taken her scoring to another level. She understands that's what we need. But her ability to get other players' shots is next level. And I'd like to take more credit for it as a coach, but she's had a lot of great coaches, mentors, trainers in her life, and we're just kind of benefiting from it right now.
Brady Sallee, appreciate the time. Best of luck up here in Cleveland. Looking forward to seeing you and the Cardinals. Thanks so much for the time, Coach.
Looking forward to getting up there and hopefully sticking around for a long time and doing something special. Thanks, Dave.
Our game of the week showcases Coach Sallee's Cardinals. Ball State looking to take the MAC regular season crown all for themselves as they host Buffalo. Ball State won the first meeting by 22 points and led the entire game, but Buffalo has won 4 of their last 5 games. and will look to avenge that early season loss. This is how the bracket would line up if the regular season ended today. Ball State would get Western Michigan in the 1-8 matchup. Toledo would get Central Michigan in the 2-7 battle. Buffalo would face Bowling Green in the 3rd seed versus the 6th matchup. And the 4-5 pairing would be Kent State taking on the Miami Redhawks. Let's welcome Western Michigan head coach Shane Klippfeld to the show. Shane, we showed currently the 8th seed, so couple of important games left to wrap up the season. What's the message to the team as you get ready for this final week of regular season play?
Yeah, it's really simple. Let's win our way to Cleveland. And, our constant message and how that happens is always win more possessions than the other team. And when you lose a possession, you try and win the next possession. So it's one at a time, not one game at a time, but literally one possession at a time.
Senior Day wrapped up Saturday. Hannah Spitzley, one of 4 seniors, averaging almost 14 points a game, among the league leaders. How important is she to the Broncos, and how important has she been to the program?
Yeah, the kid has been just such a unique player from the moment she walked in the door 5 years ago as a freshman to today, because she's probably been the most consistent player we've had over the course of a 5-year span, especially in terms of her work ethic and what she brings to the table and what you can expect from her and count on for her. And, it's nice to see her having her best year individually of her career. And probably one of the most special things about her is she would trade all of that for more wins. And that's not always the case in those situations. So what she does on a daily basis, just from leadership, take outside of her points, rebounds, steals, everything that she does for the team is her leadership and the way she can tutor our younger players and remind them about she was in their shoes one time as a freshman, not playing very much. So she's just been valuable from so many aspects besides statistics.
Each team is a little different as a coach. What makes you smile about this year's group?
The lack of drama, which is simple, but it's something you hope you never take for granted that you're not going to have it. But we haven't had any with this team, and they're super good humans. They're really good teammates to each other. I'm not saying we're perfect, and we haven't had little glitches along the way, but over the course of a season, when you're putting 15 different players and wrapping a rubber band around them and throwing them into a circle and say, all right, get along with each other and figure out how to compete against each other on a daily basis. So this group has been exceptional to that. We have players from 4 different countries and long ways from home, and there's a lot going on in their lives, and our players just continue to wrap their arms around each other, and we can stand in a circle, which we do quite often, and remind each other what we like about each other. And sometimes those discussions move everybody to tears. It's pretty fun group to be around.
Coach, as the father of 3 daughters, I understand exactly what you're saying. Appreciate the time and the insight. Best of luck as you battle to get here to Cleveland in the MAC tournament. Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Time for us to take a quick timeout. On the other side of the break, we'll talk with Toledo Rockets men's head basketball coach, Todd Kowalczyk. Full Court MACtion will be right back. We continue to push the pace on Full Court MACtion, turning our attention to the men's side of things. Let's welcome in Todd Kowalczyk, head coach for the Toledo Rockets. Coach, I know you've clinched a spot in Cleveland MAC tournament, currently tied for 4th. A couple of big games. You have Ohio and Akron at home. What's the message to the team last couple games of the regular season?
Well, get our swagger back, get our winning ways back. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a rut right now. We were 8-2 at one point in time in the season, and we're 9-7, and we need to figure it out quickly.
So people don't hear a lot about assistant coaches. I want to touch on this because you have unbelievable consistency. Jeff Massey's been with you 11 years, Justin Ingram 9, Jordan Loff 8. How important is that to the success of the Toledo Rockets, the success that you've had and are enjoying this year?
Well, you mentioned Jeff Massey and Justin Ingram and Jordan Love, but Brandon Pritchell and Brett Rao. I couldn't be prouder of the staff. Just men of high character, great fathers, great mentors of our players. And, people ask me all the time, well, how have we been so successful for so long? I've had great assistant coaches and really good players, and pretty simple formula.
All right, so this is impressive. You're one of 5 active coaches in the nation to win 4 straight outright conference titles. You're on a list with Mark Few, Bill Self, John Calipari, and John Becker. That's a pretty impressive list. What's that mean to you?
It means we've won consistently, and I'm proud of that. When they researched it, they asked me who was on it. Obviously Mark Few and Bill Self are easy names. I never would have guessed John Calipari, to be honest with you. I know he's had so much success, and he didn't do it at Kentucky. He did it, or at Memphis. He did it back in the day at UMass. It's hard to do. It's hard to win championships. It's hard to win consistently, and I'm proud that we've done that. Now the next step for us is to play well in 3 days.
Todd, as always, appreciate the time. Best of luck, not only this week when you host those 2 tough teams, but when you're up here in Cleveland for the Mid-American Conference Tournament. Thanks very much.
Look forward to seeing you in Cleveland. Thank you.
With 2 games left in the regular season, here's a look at our Road to Cleveland updated standings. The Akron Zips have officially won the regular season. Miami is in second. Ohio currently sits in third place. Kent State and Toledo both 9-7. Western and Eastern Michigan are tied at 8-8. This is how the men's bracket would look if the season ended today. The Zips would have the 1 seed locked in. They would play Ball State. Miami would face Eastern in the 2-7 matchup. Ohio University and Western Michigan would be the 3-6 battle. Kent State and Toledo would be the 4-5 matchup. The final spot in the Mid-American Conference Tournament on the men's side of things could come down to Western Michigan at Bowling Green Friday night. Broncos are led by Chancey Willis Jr., who averages almost 17 points a game. Falcons have 2 players who average more than 15 a game in Marcus Johnson and Javante Campbell. Time for us to take our final timeout. When we return, Kent State's Jenna Batch plays a game of horse while reminiscing about her college basketball career. Full Court MACtion will be right back. Welcome back to Full Court MACtion. As the regular season comes to an end, seniors get to reflect about their time in college. Kent State senior Jenna Batch took a trip down memory lane through a game of horse with Dane Richardson for this week's Campus Report.
Joined by Kent State women's basketball senior wing Jenna Batch. We're going to talk about Jenna's senior season a little bit, the success she's having, and play a little friendly game of horse. Jenna, you ready to go?
I'm ready.
You're having a ton of success, multiple 20-point performances. What do you think has attributed to most of that success?
Yeah, I think I've just gained confidence over my last 4 years here, and I've just gotten more and more comfortable with every game. Now I miss.
How satisfying was it for you going into your junior year, knowing that you got that opportunity and you saw that points per game really blossom up into double digits?
That was huge for me going into senior year, especially losing Katie. I knew I had to play a lot bigger role this year, so gaining that confidence my junior year was really big. We're gonna bring it back here. HOR.
Who was your biggest influence growing up? I know you come from an athletic family.
My dad played football at Wisconsin, and my mom played basketball just for a year, but at Wisconsin as well. So she was definitely the basketball side of things. My dad is not too knowledgeable about basketball, so she was definitely my role model with basketball growing up. She was my first ever coach.
There's the air ball.
There's the air ball.
Jenna Batch, leading scorer
Good
for
game.
Kent State Women's Hoops. Good game.
From the Kent State women to the Kent State men, our tournament time capsule this week highlights the run of the 2017 Cardiac Kids of Kent State.
Clear path to the bucket, lost it with 3 seconds. Saved by CMU at the buzzer. They miss it.
First, it took overtime for the Golden Flashes to take down Central Michigan at home in the first round of the tourney. Then Kent State had to survive a last-second shot attempt from Buffalo to win by 3 in the quarterfinals. In the semis, it was Jalen Walker delivering the winning bucket in the final seconds to take down the Ohio University Bobcats.
It is over!
For the championship, Akron was the only team left in Kent State's way. Jalen Walker continued his tournament dominance.
But the putback is good by who else? Jalen Walker with 22.
He won the MVP, and the Golden Flashes cut down the nets at the end of a heart-pounding 4 games in 6 days. We're almost all out of time on this edition of Full Court MACtion, but before we go, time to take a look at the plays that had us go ooh and ah. It's time for this week's top plays.
Team before this 3-game winning streak. We've seen this before where they've struggled as driving baseline is Green. Second time.
Down to 5. Great spin from Ekonowitz, who got it squared and put Toledo back on top.
Big time shot by Samuel Ekonowitz.
That'll do it for us on this edition of Full Court MACtion. Join us next week when we are in MAC tournament mode. Have a good night, everybody.